Some nights change you. But the night she said it's just one time was the night that took everything from me. My certainty, my balance, and the version of myself I thought I understood. Up begins with calm, almost gentle uncertainty, the kind that hides beneath a quiet room, a slow breath, a voice that trembles even when someone tries to sound sure. The narrator, 22, steps into the soft glow of a late evening living room. The air is warm, still carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the open window. He isn't expecting anything. In fact, he's bracing himself for distance, for a polite apology, for her to pretend nothing happened between them last week. But when he sees her, 40 years old, confident yet visibly unsettled, he feels something shift. She stands with her arms folded, not defensively, but as if she's holding herself together. Her dark hair falls over her shoulders, slightly messy, like she hasn't really slept since that night. Her eyes carry a question she's afraid to ask. She tells him quietly, "It was just one night, nothing more." But the quiver in her voice betrays everything, focuses on the emotional collision. He's trying to understand why something that felt so meaningful to him is suddenly being reduced to something small, forgettable, insignificant. She keeps avoiding eye contact. Every time he steps closer, she steps back, not out of rejection, but fear of what she feels. YouTube-safe affection builds subtly. Her fingers brush his wrist when she makes coffee, a soft, accidental touch that lingers a moment too long. The warmth of her body when she passes by him feels intentional even when she insists it means nothing. He notices every detail, the slight tremble in her inhale, the tension in her shoulders, the way her breath deepens when he stands too close. He senses she cares deeply, but is terrified of crossing a line she can't return from, the line between one night and everything after. Internal conflict forms the core of this keynote. He doesn't want to push her. He doesn't want to lose her. But he also doesn't want to pretend he didn't feel something real. By the end of, she walks past him to the doorway, pausing as if waiting for him to say something. Anything. He finally whispers, "It didn't feel like nothing." She stops. Her shoulders tense. She doesn't look back. The tension ends here, thick, quiet, unresolved, setting the slow-burn foundation for the rest of the story. Opens with distance. Not physical, but emotional. The next morning, the narrator wakes with a heaviness he can't shake. The night before is still echoing in his head, her voice saying it was just one night, her shoulders tightening as though protecting a secret she never intended to reveal. He goes outside to clear his mind, sitting on the small bench in her backyard. It's early. Pale sunlight spreads across the grass, innocent and unaware of the tension sitting between them. She steps outside minutes later. Her hair is tied loosely, a few strands escaping, framing her face in a way that makes her look softer, younger, almost unsure. She crosses her arms, not to distance herself, but because she's anxious. She begins talking casually about chores, coffee, the weather, anything to avoid the real conversation. He listens quietly, but every word feels like she's building a wall between them. When she pauses, his eyes meet hers with a fragile kind of honesty. She quickly looks away, as though the truth in his gaze is too much. When she finally sits beside him, the wooden bench creaks softly. The space between them is small, but feels impossibly wide. A moment of proximity breaks the coldness. Her hand brushes his forearm, a gentle, almost involuntary touch. It lasts less than a second, but it's enough to send heat up his arm. Enough to remind him that under her controlled voice is a woman feeling far more than she admits. Inside the kitchen, the atmosphere remains bright, warm, painfully serene. She stands close to him while pouring water, her shoulder nearly touching his. Every accidental brush, every shared breath carries unspoken meaning. He senses her fear, not of him, but of herself, of what wanting him might mean. She's trying to rewrite the narrative into something casual. He's trying not to push, but not lie to himself. She finally turns to him and says something ambiguous, something like, "We shouldn't make it complicated." But her voice lowers on shouldn't, suggesting she already knows it is. He steps back slightly, giving her space. But that only makes her more restless. She fiddles with her sleeves, then her hair, then the edges of the countertop. Avoidance becomes her shield. Near the end of this part, she stands in the hallway, sunlight behind her, outlining her silhouette in a warm glow. She hesitates before speaking again. Her lips part as if she wants to say something meaningful, something real, but she stays silent. And that silence says everything. It's the moment both of them understand this wasn't just one night. It's something alive, something they're both trying and failing to contain. Ends with emotional tension climbing. Their feelings undeniable, yet unspoken, that takes the story into a public space. A cafe, where emotions are harder to hide and avoidance becomes impossible. He suggests they talk somewhere neutral, away from the house, away from memories. She hesitates, but agrees. Her agreement alone is a sign. She wants clarity too, even if she's scared of what clarity might bring. The cafe is bright, filled with morning chatter, sunlight spilling through large windows. He picks a quiet table near the back, where the noise is softer and the world feels a little gentler. She sits across from him, smoothing her long black hair behind her ear, avoiding his eyes. Her hands betray her, fingers tapping lightly, restlessly. She pretends to read the menu, though she hasn't turned a single page. He waits patiently, not pushing, just present. That presence alone makes her chest rise with a slow, conflicted breath. When she finally speaks, her voice is steady, but her eyes remain lowered. She explains, or tries to, that she doesn't want to complicate things, that she doesn't want him getting attached, that what happened wasn't supposed to mean anything. But the more she speaks, the more tangled her words become, like she's arguing with herself more than with him. Then something shifts. She goes quiet. Her fingers stop moving. She looks up. Her eyes meet his, really meet his for the first time since that night. And in that single moment, everything she's been hiding rushes to the surface. Guilt, want, fear, all mixing in the depth of her gaze. He leans forward slightly, elbows resting on the small wooden table. Not demanding, not accusing, just reaching out with honesty. He tells her, gently, that he's not asking for anything she can't give. He just wants truth, real truth. That truth sits heavy between them. She finally whispers, "It felt real." That's the problem. The air shifts. The noise of the cafe fades. Her vulnerability cracks open. He reaches a hand across the table, stopping inches from hers, close enough for her to feel the warmth. She stares at his hand like it's something dangerous, something she wants to touch, but is afraid to. The moment holds, longer than it should, long enough for her breathing to change. They leave the cafe without touching, walking side by side in bright daylight. But their steps are closer, their silence softer, their energy warmer. Part 3 ends with her glancing at him while unlocking her car. A glance filled with conflict, longing, and something she can no longer deny. One night wasn't something she could forget. And pretending otherwise is only breaking her more. Shifts into emotional intensity. The truth begging to surface while both fight to hold it back. They take a walk through a nearby park. It's bright outside. Sunlight filters through tall trees, creating patches of warmth on the path. Children laugh in the distance. Joggers move past. Life continues effortlessly around them. But inside this quiet path, everything feels heavy. She walks slightly ahead, arms crossed, shoulders tense. He notices her breathing, deeper, slower, as though each inhale is steadying a storm within her. He calls her name softly. She stops, mid-step, turning back just enough to show her profile. Her eyes are wet, not crying but close. He steps forward, slowly, giving her space to move if she wants to. But she doesn't move. Not away, not forward. She's stuck, torn between wanting him close and wanting to protect him from herself. When he reaches for her wrist, just a gentle, reassuring touch, she freezes. Her skin warms instantly under his fingers. She closes her eyes for a second, breathing in sharply, as if that small touch cracks something open inside her. She whispers, "I can't do this." but her voice trembles, revealing she already is doing it. Falling, wanting, breaking. They sit on a park bench. She clasps her hands tightly, staring at them like they hold all the answers she's afraid to speak. He sits across from her, not crowding, but fully attentive. The way he looks at her, steady, soft, patient, makes her throat tighten. She finally talks. Really talks. She tells him she's afraid of the age gap, afraid of judgment, afraid of ruining his life, afraid of letting herself want someone who makes her feel alive in a way she hasn't felt in years. She admits she hasn't let anyone in since her divorce. That vulnerability terrifies her, especially when it comes from someone who sees her so clearly. He listens silently, not interrupting, not fixing, just giving her space to unravel. She breaks down, voice trembling. You make me feel something I wasn't ready for. He reaches out, not to hold her, but to place his hand near hers, a quiet offer. She responds by touching his fingertips with hers, barely there, but full of meaning. The softness of the moment is more intimate than any kiss could be. Part 4 ends with her turning her face toward him, finally meeting his eyes without running, and whispering one breaking truth. I'm scared I'll lose you, the moment I let myself want you. Opens inside her home again. The same living room where everything first shifted. But now the air feels different. Warmer, thicker with unspoken closeness. She stands by the window, sunlight illuminating her long black hair. He steps into the room, and she doesn't move away this time. Instead, she lets him approach, slowly, cautiously, as though something inside her has stopped fighting. The tension is tender now, not sharp like earlier. She turns toward him, arms hanging loosely at her sides instead of folded defensively. Her expression is softer, almost apologetic. He senses the change immediately. They begin talking quietly, gently. Not about the past, not about that night, but about simple things, work, stress, little frustrations. Light conversation, but every word carries emotional subtext. She's letting him in piece by piece. He sits beside her on the couch, not touching, not crowding, but the closeness feels electric. Her shoulder inches toward his unconsciously. Her breathing shifts, shallow, careful. She tucks her hair behind her ear, a nervous gesture he's seen before. When a loose strand falls forward again, he lifts his hand slowly. She doesn't stop him. His fingers brush the strand from her cheek, grazing her skin lightly. She inhales sharply, eyes fluttering closed for a moment. That single touch sends a ripple through her entire body, a mix of desire, safety, fear, and longing. When she opens her eyes, they're shining in the warm light. She whispers, I don't know how to stop feeling this. He responds softly, you don't have to. But the truth scares her again. She stands abruptly, pacing a few steps before turning back, running a hand through her hair, the internal storm returning. She admits that letting him close would change everything, not just her life, but his. And she doesn't want to be the reason he regrets anything. He stands as well, stepping closer, slowly enough that she can step away if she wants. She doesn't. His presence calms her. His voice steadies her. He tells her gently that he isn't fragile, that his feelings aren't impulsive or temporary. He tells her that he sees her clearly, her strength, her vulnerability, her fears, and none of it scares him. She softens again, looking at him with a mixture of disbelief and hope. Their hands almost meet on the coffee table, resting inches apart, tension thick enough to feel. Her fingertips tremble, wanting to reach out but holding back. Part 5 ends with her whispering, barely audible, I don't know how to let myself be wanted again. And at that moment, he realizes the truth. She's not pushing him away. She's waiting to be convinced that she's worth staying for. That brings the emotional peak, the moment their walls, fears, and hopes all collide. The scene opens in her bright kitchen. Morning sunlight pours in, filling the space with soft warmth. She stands leaning against the counter, arms braced behind her, looking both vulnerable and beautiful in her uncertainty. He walks in, and she looks up, not startled, not guarded, just open, as though she finally wants to let something happen instead of running from it. Their conversation begins with soft words. She admits she didn't sleep much. She kept replaying everything he said, everything she felt, everything she tried to deny. There's no tremble in her voice now, only honesty. He steps closer, slowly, careful not to overwhelm. When he's near enough, she lifts a hand and places it lightly on his chest, not pushing him away, but grounding herself. The touch is gentle, warm, filled with trust she didn't know she still had. Her eyes search his, afraid of what she sees, but more afraid of losing it. She whispers, "I want to stop fighting this." That single sentence shifts everything. He covers her hand with his own, warmth spreading through both of them. The connection isn't rushed. It's tender, steady, the kind of touch that feels like coming home after a long struggle. She breathes deeper, her shoulders relaxing as though releasing years of fear. Their closeness fills the room, the kind of closeness that doesn't need kisses or dramatic declarations. Just presence, just touch, just truth. She steps forward until only inches remain between them. The air thickens with emotion, not desperation. Her long black hair brushes lightly against his shoulder as she lowers her gaze, trying to hide the flood of feelings rising inside her. He gently lifts her chin with 2 fingers, guiding her eyes to his. She doesn't look away this time. Her voice is barely audible when she says, "I'm scared because this feels right." He answers softly, "It's supposed to." They stand there for a long moment, not touching more, not stepping back, just sharing the same breath, the same warmth, the same unspoken promise. Then she whispers something fragile, something breaking, something real, something like, "I don't want to lose myself again." And he responds with a quiet steadiness, "You won't. I'm here." Part 6 ends with her finally leaning into him. Not fully, not dramatically, just enough for her forehead to rest near his shoulder, enough to let her guard fall, enough to show she's choosing this connection. Choosing him brings resolution, warm, gentle, emotionally satisfying. The story returns to the living room, filled with bright afternoon light. She stands near the window again, but now her posture is relaxed. No folded arms, no guarded stance, no defensive distance. She turns when he enters, slowly, with a soft smile she hasn't shown in years. He walks toward her, and instead of stepping back, she reaches out instinctively, her fingers brushing his hand. The touch is simple, but the meaning is profound. She's choosing connection without fear. They sit on the couch together, closer than before. She turns slightly, facing him, her long black hair falling naturally over her shoulder. Her eyes soften, warmth spreading across her lightly tanned skin. She looks at him like she's finally allowed herself to see what's been there all along. She begins speaking quietly, telling him she's been afraid for so long, afraid of being vulnerable, of being hurt again, of wanting something too deeply. But now, with him, the fear feels different. It feels shared, manageable, real. He listens without interrupting, letting her unravel every emotion she's been holding. Then she admits something that changes everything. "I didn't lose control that night. I found something I didn't know I needed." Her hands slide into his fully, fingers intertwining, warm and deliberate. She squeezes lightly, a small, steady affirmation. She rests her head gently against his shoulder. Not dramatically, not desperately, just softly, like it's the place she's been trying not to need. He shifts slightly to support her better. She exhales, long and relieved, as though letting go of a weight she's carried for years. The silence that follows is peaceful, not tense, not uncertain, just right. She lifts her head slightly, looking at him with a sincerity that makes his chest tighten. She whispers, "I don't know where this goes, but I want to find out. With you." He smiles, a slow, quiet, honest smile. They lean closer instinctively, foreheads nearly touching, hands still intertwined. It's intimate without ever crossing any boundary. Safe, deep, human. The final beat of the story is simple and powerful. She rests her head on his shoulder again, fully this time, her long black hair draping over his arm. His hand rests on hers, thumb brushing softly, grounding the moment. The story ends warm, resolved, and full of future possibility. Not rushed, not dramatic, just two people choosing each other, gently, bravely, finally.